Wallace Celestino asked this question: what happened to the soldiers who became disabled after combat? Did they simply return home, or did they continue in other roles within the legion? This is an excellent question, and today in this video, we will talk about what happened to the legionaries who were injured or disabled and could no longer serve in the Roman army. How were they treated? Did they receive any kind of benefit or pension from the government? Stay with me until the end to discover all the answers. All legionaries who joined the Roman army knew their service would last at least 25 years. The challenge was surviving that long through harsh battles and travels. To ensure the survival of the soldiers, the first Roman Emperor, Augustus, took important measures regarding the medical care of his troops. It was under his rule that the first professional military medical units in history were established. Each legion had its own medical team, and on the battlefield, field hospitals were set up where wounded soldiers could receive quick treatment. These hospitals could accommodate between 250 and 500 soldiers, allowing many of them to be treated as soon as possible. Military doctors, in addition to working in the hospital, were also on the battlefield. Some soldiers were tasked with moving through the combat lines, picking up the wounded, and transporting them to a safe place where they would receive care. These soldiers carried bags with bandages, ready to stop bleeding and stabilize the fighters before taking them to the field hospitals. The quick access to medical care greatly increased the survival chances of the legionaries. In fact, historical studies show that Roman military doctors managed to save over 70% of the wounded soldiers, significantly reducing losses and the need for soldiers to receive benefits or pensions from the government. Before the 1st century BC, there was no formal pension or benefit system for soldiers who became disabled. During the Roman Republic, soldiers who were no longer able to serve due to injuries were only given land as a reward for their service, not money. These lands were granted through laws such as the Lex Sempronia and the Lex Lucilia, which ensured that soldiers were compensated with land from the regions conquered by the army. These land grants were generally made within the region from which the legion the soldier belonged to originated. For example, soldiers from the 10th Legion, which originated in Hispania, would receive land in that same region. The value of this land was the most important thing for the soldiers, as it guaranteed them a means of livelihood for the future. However, it was only with Augustus's rise to power that the pension system underwent a major transformation. Augustus implemented a pension fund for retired and disabled soldiers, initially funded with his own private wealth. This military fund had an impressive value of 170 million sesterces and also received contributions from allied kingdoms and cities in the empire. But Augustus soon realized that this amount would not be sufficient to cover all the pensions, so new taxes were introduced. The 5% inheritance tax and 1% of auction profits were earmarked to fund the pensions of soldiers, creating a more sustainable system over time. Soldiers who retired after 25 years of service in the legion received a substantial pension. This payment was known as the missio honesta, which was a kind of official certificate of their service. In addition to this recognition, they were granted a lump sum pension payment, which amounted to 12,000 sesterces, equivalent to about 100,000 modern reals. For centurions, high-ranking officers, the pension could be even higher, reaching up to 600,000 sesterces, a considerably large sum for the time. However, for disabled soldiers, the pension worked similarly to the missio honesta, though with some differences. The amount granted depended on the soldier's length of service before becoming disabled. For example, if a soldier had served 12 years and then became disabled, they would receive only half of what a retired soldier would get, i.e., 1,500 sesterces. For a disabled soldier to receive this right, they had to be evaluated by a committee of 3 army doctors. If it was confirmed that the soldier could not continue in combat due to physical or mental problems, the corresponding pension was granted. In addition to the pension, disabled soldiers could also receive other benefits. One of the most important were land grants. Although these were smaller than those given to retired soldiers with years of service, they were still valuable, as they ensured the soldier could settle and live off the land they received. There was also the right to a military will, which the soldier had already written during his service. This will allowed him to leave his belongings to whomever he wished, and it remained valid for 1 year after the completion of his service. This right was crucial, as it gave the soldier a way to ensure his family or loved ones could receive what he had earned during his time in the army. Another important benefit was the peculium castrans, which allowed soldiers to delegate property or money acquired during their service. If the soldier had earned property, money, or goods while in the army, he could leave it to his family or anyone else he chose. Disabled soldiers could also be called back to service in special situations. While they couldn't directly participate in combat, they could be called for administrative roles. These included positions like librarians or any other task that didn't require the physical effort of an active soldier. In addition to the pensions provided by the state, there was also a private pension system in Rome. This system was managed by brokers and some private corporations that offered additional pensions to soldiers. However, this type of pension was only available to high-ranking officers, like centurions, who had accumulated enough wealth during their service. Due to their position in the army, centurions received additional payments and extra benefits, and many of them turned to these private funds as a way to secure their welfare after retirement. However, common soldiers, those who hadn't reached such a high position, did not have access to these private funds. This private pension system wasn't available to all legionaries, but only to those who belonged to the higher classes of the army, who, in addition to their regular salary, could access these additional benefits through their connections and status in the military hierarchy. The pension and benefits system for disabled soldiers in Rome reflects an advanced view of social foresight for the time. Although the Roman Empire had many shortcomings, they already recognized the importance of taking care of those who had served the homeland and could no longer fight in battle. Despite the challenges, Roman soldiers who became disabled were not left helpless. They received pensions, land, and other benefits that ensured their well-being and that of their families, allowing them to live with dignity after their service. It's fascinating to see how, more than 2,000 years ago, Rome already had a social protection system for its most loyal citizens, something that many modern countries are still implementing today. What about you? Did you know that the Romans already had these benefits for their soldiers in ancient times? If this information surprised you, don't forget to leave a like and comment on what else you'd like to learn about life in the Roman Empire. We'd love to hear your thoughts.